Welcome to the Nerd Nook. I'm your host, Evan Teague, with me, like always, is Noah Bailey. So we're trying out something a little new today. New software, new stuff. See if this works. Having fun. It's fine. So, uh, this week we have quite a bit of stuff to talk about, and what I want to start with is the fact that Invincible has been renewed for season 4 and 5 already.
Yeah. In 2030, it's going to be great when we see Invincible season 5
Uh-huh.
at this
Uh-huh.
rate. Oh my gosh. But no, I mean, that is still very good. Jokes aside about how long the production, how long it's actually going to come out. But like the show's been excellent so far.
Hmm.
The voice acting's been amazing. The animation's really good. The story's super engaging. Like it's done really well. And the fact that we're getting 5 seasons just tells you like there's a lot still to go down. So it's going to be a great time.
Exactly. Yeah, there are entire like boss level characters that we haven't met yet that I know people are excited about. Um, they open the world to multiverse shenanigans. We can get more of that, obviously. Uh, I personally kind of want more of the like one-off Adam Eve special type things for other characters, like
Mm.
oh, it's like a period piece of something the Immortal was up to, 100 years ago. Um, I wouldn't mind like a Rexplode origin, just stuff like that.
Yeah, or just kind of like like almost like kind of like the Star Wars story kind of vibes kind of thing, or like Tales of
Yeah.
the Jedi kind of stuff. Just like, yeah, stuff to see what characters are up to. I would love to see one about Cecil, honestly. I think that would be really
Mm,
interesting.
yeah, because it didn't really sound like he was a player during the Adam Eve special, which was like 16 years ago, right when that started. So I don't really know if him leading the team or leading the organization is a relatively new thing, or if he was around, he just wasn't mentioned at during that. Or yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing how he got there.
Right, right. He seems like, what I mean? He seems like a really interesting guy that really we still don't really know that much about. All we really know is he's the boss, and that's kind of it.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's very exciting considering they already announced 2 and 3, you know, during like right before season 1 ended, and people were obviously very concerned about the mid-season break, deflating hype and stuff, and clearly, at least by the end of the season, people were, the last episode or two, people watched that enough for them to go ahead and green light 4 and 5. So I think people just obviously overreacted to how badly that would impact the show. I still think they should have done it, but I think
Agreed.
people's reaction was a little overboard.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, it's, I don't think yeah, I think it is a bit of overblown to be like, oh, wow, the show's dead because, like, it takes a hiatus. But at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, that does at least momentarily kill your hype. And if this becomes a pattern, this could be a bigger problem because, I mean,
Yeah,
like, if we're literally waiting years for a season and then get half the season and then have to wait again, it's like, wow, that is a lot to just kind of hold on
yeah,
to there. But I mean, it's
yeah, and I all guarantee they will not do that again. At least not multiple months at a time between. If it's like
I
a
mean,
couple weeks maybe, but
can,
I don't think they're doing multiple months. I don't know.
but like, can you guarantee that though? Is that really, I mean, because they might, like, you never know. They
Yeah,
shouldn't, but like,
they shouldn't. It really, I think I wouldn't be surprised if it was essentially Amazon telling them they had to do it this way for whatever reason. Either like there was some other show that Amazon was pushing at the time, or I'm not sure exactly. Like, oh, we don't have anything that's going to be releasing in mid March, so we'll break this up and put that there. Well, I don't know.
I mean, maybe I don't know. I mean, it's it's behind the scenes. We'll never really know the like real actual reason probably, but it's just it's one of those things that it's it feels like a slap in the face after waiting years for
you're right.
season 2 and
Literal years, 2.5 years for season
yeah.
2. Yeah. We've only had 17 episodes if you count the Adam Eve special. That's a little
Right.
upsetting. And that's the kind of
And the
issue I
show
have
was
with modern television as it is the fact that every show nowadays seems to be 8 episodes. They're long episodes, but like if you think about it like that, growing up, every single show was either like 13 or 20 plus episode seasons. Some of them were 40 plus minutes long. So that's a lot of content per season. And yeah, you had to wait a year per season, but that felt fine because you had, 20-ish episodes to watch.
right.
And now it's
Well,
6 or 8, maybe 10 if you're lucky. And I don't know.
right. Well, see, that's the thing. It's like, yeah, a lot of these shows, especially like a lot of these like CW shows, literally would have like 5, 6, 7 seasons of like 20+ episodes each. It's like that, and it just like it was just mountains of fluff because like what else are you gonna
Yes.
do for that?
Yeah,
But at the
that is
same
one.
time,
Mm, at the same time,
it's
yeah.
like it, but it's also like it's like they overcorrect now. And they're like, okay, 8 episodes. That's it. And granted, it's all like business. There's not really any fluff. There's no
Mhm.
waste of time. Every 5 seconds, something huge is happening. But it's
Yeah.
also like, man, that's it. Like, I want more. I don't know. Like,
hmm
feels too
But in a
short.
way, like, though, yes, it did get super grating, watching The Flash and watching a whole episode where literally nothing happens. But,
Yeah.
and, like, when something in one of these episodes of The Mandalorian or Loki or, whatever given show happens, if it's not, as good as you wanted or you don't think it's as important as it should be in the moment, even though by the end usually everything comes together, it will kind of feel like filler and it will kind of feel like we're wasting one of these 8 episodes. But also, you know, like because there are only 8 episodes and you don't really have time for filler, you don't really have as much time for those fun character moments that I feel kind of, made you coming back for more of those, when the shows were good, you know, not every CW show, for example, not every episode of season 2 of The Flash hit perfectly, but that was still a pretty good season overall, mostly because you got time to develop these characters in the 20 episodes you got. If it was just 8 episodes, I don't really know if you could do everything that the show did well and care about all the characters in the same way in that same time period. Yeah.
Yeah, and like we were talking about how like the Avatar show, like
Mm.
one of the biggest things we're talking about is like there weren't any of the character moments, which like oh, but it's it's remade or whatever, so I guess you could like fill them in yourself if you've seen the show, but that's not really how that's lazy. That's just not
No.
that's whenever you have to fill something in for the product, then it's just bad writing. Like what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like if I have to imply that they're friends now, then that's not good storytelling. So
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those things that like yes, you have to like you got to be concise. You got to do a whole season. We got to go to the North Pole. All these things in 8 episodes, but also there's no downtime because we have to just go, go, go. We're picking the five
Mm-hmm.
stories we feel like are the most important in the
Yeah,
season and then just going with it.
exactly. But, going back to Invincible, when you have a whole episode of Mark, going down to Atlantis, that's not really important to his character. So even though, the B plot of that was actually important, the stuff that should care about doesn't feel important to you at the moment. So it feels like the whole episode's a waste. One of the 16 episodes you have total feels like a waste.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like any like it's kind of like, remember when like there was the last season of Clone Wars and it was like, all right, we're only getting these about 12 episodes, and it was
Uh-huh.
like, all right,
Those
like,
four
and
middle
then
episodes were so hard
yeah,
to get through.
exactly.
I
Well,
didn't
no,
even hate
it's
them.
like
They were just rough.
the hardest one is the third episodes in like the Martez sister arc, because they
Oof.
start in prison, they do this whole go around, and the episode ends, and they're right back where they started, and nothing has changed. And it's literally it just feels like a wasted episode. And you're like, this is
Uh-huh.
one of the 12 most precious resources in the universe. A
Mm-hmm.
Clone Wars season 7 episode. We're just like, oh yeah, we're
Yep.
wait like the arc could have been 2. I'll give you 3. The fourth episode, you're like, oh, that could have been one more episode of something great. And it feels like you're robbed of it at the same time.
Uh,
It's like, well, who am I to tell
like,
Dave what's right, what's wrong, obviously?
right.
But I mean,
Like, I
it
get
feels
you
like a
only have
misstep.
12 episodes, and you can't do everything you want to do, and you need to show Ahsoka, what she's been up to during that time. But there were so many cool episodes of Clone Wars that were storyboarded that never got made, like Dark
Mm-hmm.
Disciple, the whole Utapau arc, Boba Fett's little, scuff with Cad Bane.
And
Like,
then,
like there's a lot of stuff that you would have liked to see fully animated that we're just never gonna get, and it feels like they got replaced by this episode that literally didn't matter.
yeah, yeah, and that's the thing too. It's like you. I get they were trying to hammer the point of like seeing the world and seeing, more importantly, the Jedi from the perspective of other people. And I get
Mm,
that's what they were going for, but I feel like you could have done that with a different arc here.
probably.
Like,
Yeah.
and again, it didn't have to be, it didn't have to be 4 episodes. That could have been. I mean, I also think the whole Martez thing could have been 1 episode. I think, because I
I
mean,
think
I
two.
think you
I think
just
two would have been fine.
I can give you 2, but I mean, you could have made it 1. You could have just
Yeah.
been like, oh yeah, there's these people down on their luck. They're trying to sell spice. It goes wrong, but Ahsoka, also she's a Jedi, gets them safe. Oh, and Maul kind of notices her, and that's pretty much it. And
Right.
then the Mandalorians, like Bo-Katan, helps her out or something, and then
Mm.
we just pick up later.
Yeah, I think it got a little too big for what it should have been doing. Like, you didn't need to go to the Pike planet. You didn't need the whole thing with her kidnapped. Like, you just skip all that. Like there could be a mission that goes wrong, but I don't think you need to go that far out just for that to happen. But yeah,
Definitely not. But
yeah,
But all that to say, like, yeah, it can feel rough when, like, there's very limited episodes, and then, like, you feel like one of them is semi wasted.
mm, yeah. But regardless, those fears can only really be justified if the show gets canceled, and because the show is clearly not being canceled, I think you know I, it's fine. It's fine.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I just hope, again, it goes back to I hope we don't have to wait 2.5 more years before we get season 3,
Yeah.
because that
Like I
was
said,
that
I
was
think
brutal.
season 3 will start next March or around there. That's my hope.
I mean, that would be perfect. That'd be ideal, but
Mhm.
will it?
Who knows? Um, Kind of on the flip side of this discussion, um, another Amazon show that has come out and is wildly successful, and I think is actually very good. The Fallout series released recently on Amazon, and this is the first time Amazon has done this, to my knowledge, where they pulled a Netflix and just dropped every episode all at the same time.
Hmm.
Like, they didn't do it with The Boys, not with Invincible, not with any of the other shows I can't name right now, but I know there are others that
I
don't do
think they
this.
did that with Reacher, I think.
Was that not weekly?
Not that I don't think so. That
Huh.
or that I know for a fact they didn't do that with Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I watched that in one weekend. But
Hmm.
yeah, I don't. I think Reacher was also. At least I know the
Okay.
first season was not weekly. I don't know about the second season. I don't think the second season was either though. But like, yeah, I think it just depends on the show. But
Was that you?
yeah, I saw all of that. That was it. No, I didn't do anything. I just watched you get really small in your chair. I
Uh,
was just kind of like, okay, all right,
okay.
like I don't try to
Nice.
activate it. I'm like,
Um, regardless, I, I, I'm just going to talk about the show itself for a second, and then get into like the actual discussion about that. I, where my roommate is a really big Fallout fan, um, and I'm at least a casual enjoyer of the franchise. I haven't really played any of the games. It's a really good show. I think the writing is really good. The characters are just really good. Um, the dynamics between the characters, the way they like show how the past influences the future, and just it's just a very well written show that a lot of fanboys are being weird about because it's not exactly canon. Like there's stuff that breaks lore or isn't really canon that are trying to make it canon, which I say just shut up. It's fine. It's fine. Um, but yeah, like a part of me is happy that they released all episodes at once because you know like I am really invested in the show. I want to see what happens next, and I am enjoying watching it. It's only 8 episodes, so I am enjoying watching it. Basically one a night for the last week or so. But also, I feel like because the show is so good, it feels like the kind of thing that would be perfectly ripe for that. You know, that fan engagement on Twitter, where every week you come back and see what other people think of it. See, like watch breakdown videos, Easter egg videos, just things like just watch people react to it. At the same time as you, as opposed to now. If someone's like, oh, there's a Fallout show, okay, yeah, I'll watch that at some point, and then because it's just all out at the same time, if you don't watch it right away, you probably never will. And that's, I think, the biggest
mm,
issue with that kind of release structure.
agreed. It kind of like the hype dies too fast, essentially. It
Yeah.
kind of
Like,
like
I
because
think,
like there's no time for it to marinate and sit.
yeah. Like, I think this would have been a perfect show to pull a Disney Plus where they released 2 episodes up front. Let those two sit. Because the first two are very strong. And it stays pretty consistent throughout, but it's a very good opening to the show. Start with those two and then weekly after that. I think that would have been a good, like a, pretty well paced. However, if that had happened, I would only have 3 episodes of the show out at this point, and you know, I wouldn't enjoy it in the same way. But I don't know if my enjoyment of the show would be lessened. If anything, I feel it would be enhanced by anticipating it next week.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of gives you more time to think about it, plan theories, talk about it with other
Mm-hmm.
people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just build up the excitement, the joy with the show. And I think that's kind of what's been lost with streaming, especially with, like how Netflix just kind of like drops stuff. It'll be like cool for like 2 weeks. That's the show we're talking about, and that's
Mm-hmm.
it.
Exactly. And something that streaming has just absolutely completely killed is the very concept of a cult classic. Like, think about all of the movies, all of the shows, all of the songs, whatever, that released, when they did, it just completely bombed. But then over time, due to, physical release or just, further future releases or just people talking about it, just rediscovering it over time, it picked up steam and eventually became profitable, eventually got sequels, eventually just grew a big fan base. When there's this need for instant gratification from Netflix, from HBO, whatever, to the point where if your show doesn't top the charts instantly, they'll delete the entire thing, like like these companies tend to do. Like if if that's what happens, then you don't the studio doesn't give the show or movie time to breathe, doesn't give it time to exist, grow a fan base. Like there's a lot of good shows and movies that have just been deleted from existence because they were only released to streaming, and because it's free on streaming, people don't have the drive to watch it right away, and therefore they never do, and then no one sees it. No, there's not that fan base isn't able to grow, but even if there is a potential upswing, it's not enough for them to care enough to keep it around, so it's just gone.
Mhm. Right, and it doesn't really, it doesn't really give it a chance to like grow that fan base around. It's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
you either succeed, knock it out of the park right away, or you're garbage, and we don't need you. And
Yep.
it's kind of like, wow, what happened to just like a good show? Like a lot of good shows did not start off that well and then pick up. So it's kind of one of those things where there's
Mm-hmm.
no real chance. I mean, like it's interesting because like Netflix, a lot of the shows that they get the success on, at least like maybe not their original shows, but like shows that people watch on Netflix are shows that like initially didn't get that like out of the
Oh yeah.
park treatment, and then there's a resurgence, and then everybody like I mean, Suits when it came out was like
Mm-hmm.
kind of popular, but like now everybody watches Suits. Like
Oh
'cause
yeah.
I was watching Suits years ago, and then everyone's like, "Oh, I've never heard of that show." Now they're like, "Oh, have you seen Suits?" And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
"Yes." Like, yeah, I guess. And like, why is
Exactly.
everyone talking to me? Yeah, like why
Yeah.
is everyone? The show ended years ago. Why is everybody talking about it? It's like, oh, it's on Netflix #1. Oh, of course.
Mm-hmm. The exact same thing happened with Breaking Bad, the best show
Yeah.
ever made. Like it tops every chart, at least top three best show ever made. When it came out, for some reason, Mad Men, the show was top of the rating boards
Mhm.
every week, and this show was competing directly
AMC,
with it,
yeah.
and it just kind of got buried by that. And it wasn't until halfway through season three before it started actually catching on. If are you really going to tell me that even if it's the best show ever made, if season one bombed on Netflix, they would keep making it? No, that's not happening.
That's what I'm saying. And it's not like the show wasn't good when it was first. Like the show from the jump is amazing. So it's not like it's
Yeah,
like, oh
but
well, it took them 3 seasons to get it right. It's like no. It was like that from that. Just no one saw it.
hmm yeah, and even then, I would argue it got even better. Like every each season went better than the last, and then the second to last episode of the show is the highest rated show on episode of a thing on IMDb. Like that I feel that kind of prestige can't happen on streaming services. Like you can get lucky with a flash in the pan success like Stranger Things, but because because Stranger Things was popular in the way it was released, I believe that was the first either the first or one of the first shows that Netflix released in that way where it's all at the same time. Because Stranger Things was a really good show and got a lot of viewership in that way. They just continued doing it like that, and I feel not every show needs to be like that to the point where the one of the people who was working on the X-Men '97 show, which again I haven't seen it, but the clips I've seen people just discussing it, people have been actively discussing it for weeks now because it is weekly. One of the people working on that show thinks that has said that he thinks dropping it all at once is really dumb, and he pointed to the fact that the Scott Pilgrim anime that dropped all at once, and people aren't talking about it anymore. It's a really good show,
Mm-hmm.
and he really likes it, but he thinks it's a really dumb idea for Netflix to drop that all at once because discussions can't really be had if you already know how it ends before people are done watching it.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah,
whereas with X-Men '97, like if a major event happens, you ruminate on that for a week, and then you you watch what happens next.
right. Everyone's kind of asking the same. Well, because even because I mean, everyone else, I mean, because like when anime drops on Crunchyroll weekly, and everyone's like, oh
Mhm.
my gosh, what's gonna happen to who and who? Are they gonna beat this
Yeah.
fight? This fight's gonna be epic. It's like if they just dropped all of like the Shibuya arc like
Uh,
instantly, everyone would just be like, dang, that was crazy, and then that's it.
right.
You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I mean, because they just like they were sitting on it for weeks and weeks and weeks, and so much
Hmm.
happened, and this and that. Like,
Yeah. But to go back to our discussion earlier about filler, in a way, I kind of feel like with Jujutsu Kaisen specifically, I kind of feel like because the show is so tight, I almost want there to be filler episodes because I like the characters so
right?
much, and the times they do
They
interact
keep
together are
plotting.
so endearing that like I want more of that. But you know, things change. We can't really have that now.
Yeah, we got like what a half filler episode
We
between
got like
like the like
two different
because it
half
was like
fillers, pretty much. Yeah.
yeah, it was like that. But like what if the tea shop with like Yuji's like childhood friend girl or whatever that was like half an
Yeah.
episode, and that's like okay, now we're going to Shibuya. It's like okay, that took no time at all, but
Right.
and then like
And there
the
was
baseball episode's kind of a filler, but not really.
kind of there's one episode during season one that has like a couple of filler moments, but it's not really, or like character moments like that, but it's not really. Yeah, I want
Right?
just I don't know. You can. I feel like there's a lot you can do with this world with these characters that because you got to
Oh
get to the action, which I get. The action is fantastic. I want more of that, but you know, I want more of the characters just being
yeah,
cool
and
together.
like not every character has to like
Yeah.
every 5 seconds. Like, good, great. Like, come on. Like,
Hmm.
we can't have these moments if there's no one to have moments with.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Like, the gang's all here.
Hmm. But at least with the Fallout show, it is popular enough within the week it's been out that Amazon has gone ahead and renewed it for season two, which is very good. Again, I haven't finished the show yet, but it's looking to just be a very very good show. So I definitely want more of it. So it's good they went ahead and renewed it for season two. Amazon seems to be pretty good about you know quickly gauging fan reception to see if something should get more because you know like I said, Fallout got renewed pretty much right away. Invincible got renewed pretty much right away. The Boys got renewed through season three pretty much right away. So yeah, they more or less know what they're doing over there when it comes to when it comes to that. So
Yeah, I feel like they don't have as much content, but the stuff they do have is pretty strong.
yeah. All right, moving on over. Um, an animated Transformers movie called Transformers One. It was announced a year or two ago, but it finally got a trailer today. And I didn't know it was releasing this year, but it's releasing on September 20th, which is close to my birthday, which is fun. Um, and you know me, I love Transformers, but
I don't know.
something about. I assume you haven't seen this trailer. You don't even know what this.
I did not know. I
Okay,
did
that's
not
fine.
see this coming.
You don't need to see it to know what I'm talking about. But you know how a lot of people complain about like MCU style humor where it's like, well, that just happened, or like, he's right behind me, isn't he? Like those kinds of jokes that rarely ever actually
Mhm.
happen in the MCU, but for some reason we're subscribed to MCU humor. Um,
Mhm.
this trailer was entirely that, and I didn't love it.
Oh,
Like at
man.
least once, like, oh, what's the worst that could happen? Then something bad happened. It's like, okay, or like the
Like,
trailer will
too
stop.
much
So
of it.
yeah, the trailer will stop, and then a slapstick thing will happen. It's like, no, oh, there was literally a moment where or Bumblebee like accidentally like was like I didn't do it, he did it, and like point out like at a bad guy, and out of his hand popped a like a laser blade. It's like, okay, I can do that now. I have blades and I can do that. Like that's don't. That's not funny. Like just you being meta or not, whatever. Just be like referencing that you can do a thing that you couldn't before. That's not. I don't know why that's like a pretty common joke that seems to happen a lot now. Like I don't know where it started, but
They
it's not
find
funny.
out. They find out. They find out.
Yeah,
No, they've been
huh.
flying for literally ever, but all right.
But not those specific troopers.
I
I guess
guess.
I don't know.
I mean, we've been flying since Clone Wars. Why are we? Why is this now all
Yeah,
big shock? Like, but anyway,
I don't know. Yeah, but regardless, the animation itself looks really good. Um, I when I heard animated Transformers movie, I like a part of me was like, oh, I hope it's essentially the Cybertron moments from the movies, but the entire movie. But I was like, no, that would be way too expensive.
that's what I was thinking. I was like, this.
But I feel the animation style we got is like is a nice kind of middle ground between like looking too cartoony and looking movie grade.
Okay.
Um,
Like, what does it look like, kind of like sound wise?
the only thing I could compare it to is other Transformer stuff, so it's not really.
Uh,
I'm sorry. Like, yeah, there's not really. I can't really think of any other like animated movie studios. I guess the closest would be a no, not even really DreamWorks. I don't know. It's kind of its own style, but it's not bad.
I'll
Um,
check it out.
uh, Chris Hemsworth is playing Orion Pax, who was like the like proto version of Optimus Prime. It makes sense. Don't worry about it. And I I think about half of the times in the trailer where Chris is talking, it sounds really good, and then the other half, you can clearly tell he's putting on an accent that he doesn't need to be putting on at all. It's like he's clearly
Accent for a
talking.
robot?
Yeah, and I get the idea is that he's maybe trying to sound like a younger Peter Cullen, he plays Optimus, but
Uh,
Orion Pax is a just sounds like a very Australian name. I feel you could get away with just letting Chris Hemsworth just talk in his Thor voice. It'd be
oh,
fine.
right? And
And then
it's
when
animated too, so it's like,
yeah, doesn't it can also just be
yo,
its own thing. Like Peter Cullen isn't the only person who's ever played Optimus. Like you can do your own thing with it for once. I love Peter Cullen. I think he should do Optimus as long as he wants. But like you can do your own thing. And or even a thing where at some point in the movie when he transforms into Optimus, he'll just sound like Peter Cullen now. It's fine. We can accept it. Um, but but yeah, like when he sounds good, he sounds really good. Same with all the other Transformers in the trailer. Um, like I said, the animation is very good. The the fight scenes that we got look pretty solid. Um, so yeah, I'm feeling very mixed. I'm probably just a little harsh because I love Transformers so much, but I'm probably gonna watch it. I've I almost guarantee I'm gonna walk out of it being like, I've seen way worse Transformers content because there's a lot of good stuff, but there's probably an equal, if not greater, number of bad Transformers stuff out there. So yeah, I think it could be fun, but I just hope people don't take it too seriously, where they you know, or they like I don't know. Transformers is one of those fan bases that's very passionate, and I get that. But sometimes you just want to watch cool robots do cool things. Don't take it too
right?
seriously. Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, September 20th. Didn't even know that was happening this year, and now it's on the list.
Yeah, something to look forward to later in the year.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to Disney stuff. This is kind of a weird thing. Um, I don't know why this is a thing or why it matters, but for some reason, the the Thunderbolts movie that's coming out next year,
Oh, yeah.
the official title for the Thunderbolts has been changed to Thunderbolts with a little asterisk next to it. Thunderbolts asterisk. And Kevin Feige has said, yeah, the asterisk is important. You'll realize why after the movie. Why? What does that mean?
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Okay, you know what? That's just one of those. Okay, boss.
Okay, sure. Like
Whatever.
that
Whatever.
implies to me that like Thunderbolt Ross isn't going to be the one who activates them, or isn't going to be the one who you know leads them or whatever. Um, but I don't know. I don't know. It could be nothing, but like it's definitely a weird thing to change.
And like also just like yeah, it feels unnecessary. And also just like I mean, why say anything? Just let us go into the movie.
Like, is it also like I don't think they're gonna do this, but that also the way he phrased it and like with that asterisk there, it almost sounds like the name of the movie's gonna change after the movie comes out. I don't know what like that makes sense. It's like Thunderbolts for now, I guess, like working title. Like I don't know.
Right, right. Or like yeah, it'll be like closing credits Thunderbolts something else or something. I don't know.
Maybe like movies have done that before, where the name of the movie is technically slightly different than like what the like marketing of the movie is. Like Dune is technically called Dune Part One, even though Part Two hadn't been greenlit yet. But like the credits of the movie is called Dune Part One. So
Hmm. Well, I mean, they were confident and they were like, well, if this doesn't do well, we're all out of jobs anyway. So
yeah.
I guess that's fair. And obviously, it worked out because we've already got part two. That was pretty awesome. So,
Yeah. So yeah, that's just a weird little thing. We'll see. We'll see why next year. So yeah. uh, the other Disney thing is something that we've actually discussed before that I didn't think would ever actually happen, but
oh, that can't
Disney
be
is at
good.
least considering it. Um, Apparently, they are considering adding channels for different kinds of Disney Plus content.
Like TV channels.
Like they specifically said like a Star Wars channel or a Marvel channel, where it's just like a constant rotation of shows or movies just going like actual channel. Yeah.
That's. Didn't we say that was basically we're just going back to what we were doing originally?
Like we yes, it is.
Like,
I
isn't
would
that
be
what streaming exists to like
I would be a
replace?
little more miffed if it costs extra and it doesn't seem like it'll cost extra. It shouldn't because it's just all their stuff. And
No, you already
they're
have everything.
yeah. Um,
I
and
mean, it's basically a shuffle button.
yes, yes, and a part of me ever since dropping basic satellite TV, I have kind of missed just coming downstairs, just being bored, just turn on the
See
TV,
what's on.
seeing what's on, turning on to FX, see if it's either the Dark Knight or the Avengers, which one of those is not like usually one of those two.
Oh, yep, yep.
um, or like
Go
some
to ABC Family, see which Harry Potter movie is on.
exactly, yeah, like TNT. There's always a Star Wars movie on, like stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, like I don't know, I just even if it's a bad movie or a movie I've already seen before, it's like I'll sit through this. Why? Like I got nothing
Right.
better to
It's
do.
like, it's odd or like it's at a part that already. So you can just like, oh yeah, I remember, what scene of Kung Fu Panda you just walk into and just like,
Hmm.
yeah, we can finish. I like this part.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of random movies I never would have seen otherwise that way. Like none that I
Hmm.
absolutely adore, but like movies that I just wouldn't have seen otherwise. And I think streaming has kind of taken that away from people. Where like you know having to actively choose what to watch. I don't know, kind of lessens your creativity because like you basically are judging it by the thumbnail as opposed to flipping a channel, seeing a couple seconds of the movie itself, and either you're hooked or you're not, as opposed to you know you
Yeah,
choosing
I
to
mean,
press play on a
Netflix.
thing.
Yeah, I mean, Netflix, at least they kind of just auto start the trailer so you can kind of get a feel for it, usually just by
Yeah,
hovering over it, which sometimes is more annoying than helpful. But
yeah,
don't they
absolutely.
have the thing where you can just be like, play something and it just goes? Isn't that a
They
thing on Netflix
did.
already?
I looked for that recently. I couldn't find it, although the UI changed recently, so maybe it's there. I just missed it, but they did have that shuffle feature, and I really liked that. If they still have it, I hope they
Hmm.
do. Um, and like I wouldn't mind other companies doing something like that. But regardless, at least having different channels for different kinds of content isn't a bad way to get started. Um, I don't know. I don't know if I want them to go full like Disney Channel where it's like here are a bunch of like Disney Channel shows going all at once or whatever. But I don't know. They'll we'll see how they implement it, but it's at least an interesting concept that we've actually floated out before that I wouldn't mind someone trying and see how people react to it.
Like, I guess I do like it if it's going to be like specific. Like, if I can say, play something random of Star Wars or play
Right.
something random of the MC, or like, I think that is pretty cool actually. Because again, it's kind of like, it's like having like there's a certain range of things I want, but I just want something.
Hmm.
So I think that's pretty cool.
Right. And there's also just something I don't know satisfying about old TV where like you are watching a movie that you've seen before and there's a part coming up that you don't really want to watch or it's boring or whatever, or there's a movie on a different channel that you want to switch back to that an interesting part's coming up, so you switch back to that movie, you watch that bit, commercials come, you flip back to the other one, and then the part you wanted to skip is over, so you can keep watching. With streaming, you can't do that. You gotta like actively switch forward, like, fast forward, which like for our it's
I mean,
it's
yeah,
just not
but
the
then it's
same.
also like
I don't know.
it's one of those things where it's like we're circling back. Like it's like we have these are like super ultra first problems. Because it's like, come on, like
Hmm.
fast forward. Like,
Yeah.
but it's like, yeah, but I want the time to go by, but I don't want to make the time go by. I just want it to go by. It's kind of
Uh-huh.
like, what are we doing here? Like, are we really that
Yeah.
lazy? And like, obviously
Yeah.
the answer is yes, but I mean, it's still just kind of like, oh man, maybe we need to rethink us as people before we're like, yeah, we
Maybe.
need this.
Maybe. Yeah.
Then you're like, man, I wish there was something that was going on intermittently to have time. Like, I've heard people say, like, oh man, I wish we like ads because then we have time to get snacks in between breaks. And I'm like,
Just pause it.
pause.
Come on. You don't
Right?
believe
No,
that.
but then
You
they're
don't
like,
believe
no,
that.
but no, but I kid you not. I mean, these are real things you hear, and you're just like, are
I
we
don't believe
that?
them.
Like,
I don't think they
what
actually
are
are
we,
that.
sheep? Like, what's wrong with
Yeah.
us? Like, pause. You could
Like,
literally just like you could have it play and then rewind. You could. I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
yeah.
People, you can't please people.
Yeah, I don't know. Like some people I know some people that like me and so just to juxtapose, when me and my roommate watch a thing, me and my roommate will constantly pause to like comment on something or just go on a tangent about
Oh yeah,
something else or whatever, just all the time. And that's how we watch things.
like
Me and my
that's even
brother
what I
watch
was.
things, yeah. What were you guys? What?
I was gonna say yeah, like no, I mean even last time we were over there, just like we just stopped the movie like that wouldn't happen. That makes no sense. They were just like pause.
Exactly.
He should be dead. There's no like that was a great movie.
Yeah.
Continue.
But
Sorry.
when me and my brother are watching a thing, he'll just talk over the movie and be kind of annoyed when I pause it. Like, dude, like I want to watch
Oh,
the
see,
thing, and you're commenting while, like, it's like
see,
I kind of,
I kind of hate that. I'm not gonna like I don't mind if we talk. Like it's different if you're like in a movie theater. Like you obviously can't
yeah,
pause it. So like if we just make comments and stuff like in the slow
mm,
times. But if we're like at home where I can clearly just pause it
yeah,
for a second. Because your tangent might be going for 10 minutes and we missed something important.
right, but yeah, yeah, it's just I don't know, it's just different ways of watching a thing. I get it. Some people just really don't like pausing it because they blocked out 2.5 hours for this and they need to be somewhere after that, so that you can't afford to pause it. But you know,
I mean,
it's fine.
it seems like you shouldn't really be watching a movie then. I feel like you should be
Probably,
like,
yeah, probably.
I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know. Like, well, I mean, I'm not saying, I mean, not that I'm like the busiest of people once I'm off the clock, but I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, like, if you don't have time, if you don't have time, why are you sitting down for a 2.5 hour movie in the first
Hmm.
place?
I don't know. Um, so yeah, we'll see how this is implemented and how other companies will react to it. We could just go back to
So this is
basically
for sure
watching TV
happening.
again. It's a rumor
Okay.
that they're considering it. So
Okay, it's a room. Okay, okay. So I'm like, when this happens, I want to know because I kind of want to try it. And honestly, I think it could work. Like just having the, like you
mhm,
said, just having the option to like have it choose for you could help a lot because I think
yeah.
that's what a lot of people do. Like, I don't know what to watch, and then oh yeah, like you watch one episode of a show you liked and seen before, and then you
Hmm.
rewatch that whole arc or that whole season or whatever, and then
Yeah.
before you know it, you're right back.
Like if I could just turn on the Marvel channel and the point that it's at in its daily broadcast is the like when Doctor Strange is already at the temple, he's already training with Mordu. Like they're already like well into the second third of that movie. It's like I could watch the rest of this. Not that I dislike
Yeah,
the first part, but like we're already in it. Like I could watch from here. That's cool.
right. And that's the thing too. It's like I don't know if I want like do you want to invest in the whole thing or like oh I can start from a certain point because I know good stuff's coming after. It's kind of like watching like scenes on YouTube and that kind of gets you to finish the movie from that point
Yeah.
kind of thing. It kind of like hey like it's like a you get like an appetizer. You get reminded about how good one specific scene is, and then you're just like, all right, let me run that back and let's keep going from there. Because yeah, like you said, like
Mm.
opening to certain movies or stuff like that could be slow or whatnot. But then certain scenes, you're like, oh yeah, or like you just, I don't know. For me, it's like you get reminded about how cool this is. Like I just randomly, was just like scrolling one time and I was like, oh, remember that time in Captain America: Winter Soldier where Cap just like is just going through like 10 doors at once. So he's just like, oh,
Hmm.
oh, you're like that was awesome, wasn't it? I forgot
Yeah.
about that. And then you're like, oh yeah, this was a good part. And then this happens, and then he caught the shield. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, and
Hmm.
then you just finish the whole movie from there. But it's like, I
Yeah.
wasn't gonna sit down and be like, not that I wouldn't, not that it's not a great movie, but I wasn't just like, you know what, today I need to watch the entirety of the Winter Soldier right now with dinner.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Like, yeah. If anything, because we are so inundated with so many choices, something taking that choice away from us almost feels freeing in a way. Like, I don't know. I don't want to watch. Just give me something, and it gives me something. So I watched that. Like, I don't know. That's almost kind of comforting knowing that something could do that. Although, again,
right?
that's just what cable was like.
I
Do we
mean,
want that? I don't
yeah,
know.
but I think we still want the control. We just want the end. It's like you want somebody to start it, but you want to finish it kind of thing. Like you want it's almost I hate to say this, but it's almost like kind of like you don't want it to be your idea, but you want to with it kind of thing. Like I'll do it, but only if you want to. Kind of things, which is like hilarious. But for some reason, it like in this context, it does make sense. I don't know how about the other times, but like in this moment, that makes sense. But yeah, or like even how like YouTube will have just like because like when you watch, I'll just like it's so easy to just like open YouTube and just watch a low commitment 3-minute video to get you warmed up, and then you're just like, okay, here we go. Now we're going down rabbit holes or whatever. Versus, oh hey, here's a whole 10-hour series, or oh here's a 2.5-hour movie. It's like, even if they just had a thing where like, kind of like YouTube, where they just have like a short section where it's just like, oh yeah, these are just scenes from things that are cool and you probably want to watch, and they even categorize them like, oh, here's just Star Wars content just flowing. I feel like that would be huge.
There's something you hit on where like, let's say for example, you're watching the Star Wars channel and like the second episode of the Umbara arc comes on. Obviously, you want to start that arc from the beginning. Do you think there'll be a way to like somehow go from that constant stream to that episode on the Clone Wars page and go from there?
Yeah, that's the thing. You can, I mean, I'm sure they could have like a link at the bottom, be like, oh, like what you see? Come find the full, like, here's the full episode or the full series, whatever, and then you can just kind of click and then, oh yeah, here's Star Wars. That's what, season 4, right?
Yeah, season 4.
And then season 4 episodes, whatever, because I don't remember the order, but like, and then it's like, oh yeah, let's just go there. Like you could even pick up like in the series where exactly that moment was. You can just start in a second episode of that arc and then just go from there if you want, or start the whole arc over, or start the show over, whatever you want to do. Kind of, I think, just kind of like clips to remind you, hey, this stuff is still cool. Certain moments definitely kind of get lost between the cracks. But like, if you just randomly saw a moment where like. Yeah, like I don't know, like even if it was like, oh, that's that time in What If when like the Watcher and like Ultra Vision were just throwing hands in multiple dimensions, you're like, oh yeah, that was awesome, and then you're like, oh yeah, let's go back, let's watch this whole episode because that was a great episode, and then just go from there, and there you go, just kind of something to kick it off for you.
Yeah. Yeah, there are definitely many different ways they could implement it. There are also many ways they could do it badly. So,
I mean, yes.
Well, this may not even be true. It might just be something they, pitched and somebody was like, "No, it's a bad idea," and they, might not do it. But we'll see how that shakes out down the line. Let's see, the last news topic I have. Keanu Reeves has officially been cast as Shadow in the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie.
No. Anything with Keanu is a win. I'm bored.
Exactly. He was one of those people that, like, a lot of people were fan casting anyway. So, yeah.
Yeah. Love it. Honestly, I got to get on those movies. I haven't seen either of them, and I hear good things, so I got to get on those.
I saw the first one. It's definitely a choice to have the whole, like, oh, Sonic is trapped in our world and he's trying to get back, but like, he has like a human companion. Like, it's definitely a choice to do that clearly dated idea. But like, it's still a pretty fun movie. I heard the second one's even better. So, like, I'll probably see it at some point, but just. It seems like the third one is ramping up to be the most Sonic-y Sonic movie, if that makes sense. Because even the sequel isn't really. It's still a lot of human stuff. Yeah, Keanu Reeves is definitely a good pick for Shadow.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great move, and I think well, it's Keanu. Everybody likes Keanu. I mean, I think Shadow's always been a fan favorite character, also, so it kind of all lines
Oh
up.
yeah, yeah. Like Shadow is one of those characters where you know how Marvel and Sony have really been pushing Venom in the last 10, 15 years as like trying to be his own thing. It's
Hmm.
not working, but it's not being the most successful. Shadow is a
Yeah.
character that Sega easily should have like tried to push hard. They had him. They gave him a game back in like 2005 that bombed because it wasn't very good. And because that game didn't do very well, they just scrapped the whole idea. But they, Shadow has Shadow has a presence just in the Sonic fandom that they really should have capitalized on, just kind of didn't.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, I'm not even a Sonic person. Even I know how cool Shadow is. So it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, maybe there's a waste of potential there, but I mean, maybe this is your chance to kind of renew it because I mean,
Mm,
Keanu is obviously beloved by everyone, and Sonic the movies are doing well. Shadow's a great character, so maybe this could hype up. I don't know how the Sonic game train is going lately, but I mean, maybe
maybe.
you know.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's coming out this December. So, yeah, I hope at least the diehard Sonic fans are happy with it.
Hmm.
Okay. So, the last topic I have here, we've done something similar to this before, but I thought this would be fun. Um, if there were a Mount Rushmore of cartoon characters, who do you think would be the four characters?
Okay, so you got to go Bugs Bunny. That feels like a given.
Obviously, yeah.
Right. So they go there, and then you kind of want to say the same thing about Mickey Mouse because I feel like that's very,
Yeah.
that's the brand itself is, up, the symbol's $1 billion for just to like look at it. So
Hmm.
there's that, and then that's where it gets a little interesting because there's a couple of areas you can go to. Because if you're thinking just cartoons, you can think, okay, well, if we're thinking just kids cartoons all time, everyone, I'm thinking SpongeBob. That's a big one for me, I know.
Right.
But it's also like, well, are we just talking about kids cartoons? Are we talking about like all types of cartoons or just what you think of when you hear cartoons? Because there's also like there's adult cartoons and with like The Simpsons, and that's insanely
Hmm.
popular. Same with like Family Guy. I mean, you could argue South Park's been on forever. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big one too. But it's also like, yeah, but like, I know they're all cartoons, but are they cartoons kind of thing? Like, it's
Hmm.
maybe Homer Simpson, but like, I'm skeptical because like,
Yeah.
it's hard because like you can't be like The Simpsons isn't like huge because I mean The Simpsons has been on since what like '89 or something like that, like something
It's
crazy,
yeah, the late 80s. Yeah.
right? So it's like I mean you can't be on the air for 40 years and not be awesome,
Hmm.
like you know what I mean, or
Yeah.
at least not be iconic.
And then you kind of have to balance like yeah, there are all these super iconic, you know, old franchises. Are those just them being old supersede the like newer gen stuff like Adventure Time and Steven Universe and even SpongeBob to an extent, like Amazing World
Well,
of Gumball?
yeah,
Like these
but
are still very
there's
good. Like Avatar, like does Aang up there?
right. Well, that's the thing. But that's the thing. I'm like, are we going based on just the quality? Or are we going because like when I think of Mount Rushmore,
Yeah.
again, this is gonna get politically like controversial. But like when I think of Mount Rushmore, I don't necessarily think best president. I think of most like like
Most
when you think
accomplished.
of not even most accomplished person, but like when you think of a president, like when you hear the word president of the United States, when you hear those words, like who do you think of? Because it's what it's like George Washington. Hold on,
It's
let me make sure I
Washington,
do this right.
Jefferson, Lincoln, Teddy Roosevelt.
Right, and again, I'm not like okay, so again, I'm not like some giant history buff, but like yes, all those guys are solid. But again,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you got to keep George Washington, you got to keep Lincoln. But I mean, I, the other two, I'm not saying they're bad presidents by any means, but you could make arguments for other presidents also. Because, like, personally, I'm a big FDR guy. So, like, I feel like that's one you might want to put in there. Because, I mean, he's got, 4 terms, got us through the World War, like, all this stuff. So, like, you know, that feels very big, obviously. And then, it's like stuff like that where it's like, okay, are we talking about who did this or who did that? Because, like, you know, you could argue Thomas Jefferson's biggest accomplishment was not when he was president. So it's kind of like, you know, does the Declaration of Independence really give you the presidential, like, awesomeness card? Because that's before we were really even going. Is that even fair?
So,
like,
Thomas Jefferson's, his biggest accomplishment was the Louisiana Purchase, which gave us basically half the country.
Yes, but but when you think of Thomas Jefferson, you can't tell me you think of the Louisiana Purchase first.
No, I think of the one of the founding fathers, absolutely. But like, talking to my roommate about this, and essentially, like, the analogy is, like, for the record, his favorite president is Teddy Roosevelt. So just put that in perspective here. George Washington is the first one, Mickey Mouse. Thomas Jefferson essentially, like, kept the country going by making it bigger and better with the Louisiana Purchase, Looney Tunes. Abe Lincoln kind of, you know, kept the country together and, like, you know, brought us into this new era, and I feel that's kind of SpongeBob. And then Teddy's just the GOAT. So whoever you want to put there, like either Scooby-Doo or Tom and Jerry.
That's what I was thinking Scooby-Doo, because Scooby-Doo is one of those things that, like, there are multiple versions of Scooby-Doo that are very well done throughout a long period of cartoon history, which you cannot say about a lot of other cartoons.
Oh, yeah.
Because, Scooby-Doo's been going on for, what, like 60, 70 years, something like that?
It started in the mid-'60s, yeah.
Right, so they've been rolling, and it's Scooby-Doo. Like, everybody knows Scooby-Doo. You can't not know, like, you don't know Scooby-Doo, you literally live under a rock. Which, again, you could say about a lot of cartoons, but still. So I feel like Scooby-Doo needs to be on there, and then I feel like SpongeBob is probably, like, I think that's how you have to go, just because, like, although there are other cartoons that you could argue are maybe, like, you know, but this and that, it's like, well, yeah, but I don't think you can look at this list and say any of these are not deserving. You know what I mean?
Right. Like, a couple others that came to mind were Popeye the Sailor Man. Yeah, Betty Boop, who was around the same era. Like, she was the first, like, girl cartoon character.
True.
Like I said, Tom and Jerry.
That's a good one, but that one just feels off because it's like, are you allowed to, I know it's a stupid question, but, like, it's 2 of them, so are you allowed to, is that cheating, or, like, I guess you could just get like a smaller Tom head and, like, a Jerry size thing, but I guess that's, like, you could make it work, but in my head it kind of fits. Plus, Tom and Jerry feels very Looney Tunes era-y too, where it feels like, like, they're both their own thing, obviously, but it's like, you can't, I feel like it's kind of not redundant to have both, but it feels like they get a lot of the same flowers.
Yeah, it wouldn't really like, signify a different era or different kind of cartoon.
Right.
Whereas Scooby-Doo would kind of be the representative of the whole Hanna-Barbera era of cartoon.
Right.
You could argue, like, Yogi Bear and Fred Flintstone maybe could be there, but, like, Scooby-Doo is, like, the face of that entire brand, more or less.
Right, and that's you could argue that's the only one that's still, I hate to say it, but still relevant, because, the Jetsons and, Fred Flintstone, all that's good, but, like, none of those shows have been on in forever, whereas there's still, I'm pretty sure they're still making new Scooby-Doo stuff to this day, which is crazy to say out
there's
loud.
A Velma show, which is whatever, but, like,
okay. That is not what I was. But you know what I mean? Even in the 2000s, they were making, all these Scooby-Doo, like Mystery Incorporated, that, like, What's New Scooby-Doo, that theme song still lives rent in my head. So, like, you know what I mean? They were still rolling with this for a while, and I think that, like you said, kind of encompasses the whole Hanna-Barbera thing.
Yeah, and kind of to just stamp that down completely, there's an episode of Mystery Incorporated where Scooby-Doo has a dream where he like has to solve a mystery with other sidekicks from Hanna-Barbera cartoons. So it's like ones that most people had never even heard of. um, but like it had other reference to stuff like the Jetsons and other
Mm.
cartoons from the era. So like essentially, it's like yeah, like this is like the catalyst for other Hanna Barbera stuff. Um,
Mm. Okay, I feel
so
okay. So, are you good with those four? Or did you have different ones, or?
if Popeye had any kind of relevance now, I think I would have a stronger argument for him. But he
Mm-hmm.
hasn't been relevant. They tried to make a movie with Phil Lord and Chris Miller back in 2015 or so, which I wish that movie were real so badly, but whatever. They got Tom Kenny to voice Popeye, and it sounded so good. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
is right. That just feels so right.
Mm-hmm.
But because that didn't happen, he's just kind of like like it was just like the couple of years he had cartoons back in the 40s or 50s, whenever, and that's it. Well, he was one of the first cartoons. You got to give him his flowers for that. But you know, again, just kind of more or less derivative of that Mickey Mouse and Looney Tunes era. Like Felix the Cat, kind of the same thing. Which I love Felix, but that's really the same thing.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
yeah, I do. Oh no, never mind. Yeah, I do think Looney Tunes, Mickey Mouse, or sorry, Bugs Bunny, Mickey Mouse, SpongeBob, Scooby Doo. I think that
yeah,
feels right
yeah.
to me.
I think that's the like that feels like the most balanced list because like yeah, any others you could like there are others you start like making arguments for, but you can't be like no Scooby Doo doesn't deserve it or SpongeBob doesn't deserve it. Or, like you definitely can't say Looney Tunes. Come
Yeah,
on now, that's like
I
the
think
cartoon.
three are a lock. If anyone tries to argue that Scooby Doo, Looney Tunes, or Mickey Mouse should be there, they're insane. SpongeBob, I could maybe see an argument for, but also no.
Well, yeah, I
Like
mean, and the thing about SpongeBob, like SpongeBob is like you could that like that's the king of new age cartoons. Like
exactly.
no cartoon has been more impactful since 2000 than SpongeBob. I mean, everybody knows SpongeBob. Everyone, I mean, people can recite entire episodes off rip. Like
Mm,
you can't be like, I mean, I know that's more our generation than like the rest of these have kind of been around forever, but like SpongeBob's one of those shows that people are gonna be like, we're gonna be the people in the retirement home. Hey, put on SpongeBob, in 20, freaking 80 something,
yeah.
and like they're gonna be like, oh, I can't believe you guys watched the show, and then they're gonna be putting on Band Geeks, and we're like, yeah, oh, my back, like yeah, like that show's not
My
going
leg.
anywhere. Like that's our Right. Well, what I mean, that's our show because my dad loves the Jetsons and the Flintstones, and
Right.
everything, and it's like, that's gonna be us with SpongeBob. So I'm all for it. I think SpongeBob definitely deserves it. It's extremely relevant. It's like
Mm,
even with the show. I mean, yeah, the show should have ended a long time ago. Like that's
yeah.
understood, but the impact it's had and like how every like the fact that if you can't quote any random SpongeBob line from memory, you're an outcast, says everything you need to I mean, but isn't it like if you meet someone who doesn't immediately know what you mean when you say like, I guess you're going to miss the panty ring or something, and you don't know exactly what I'm talking about, you're
Mm,
weird.
you're
Like you know
weird.
what I
Yeah.
mean? That's so weird. Like red flag. Like that's
Mm, yeah. I
even though I think like that's like the one band episode. I'm pretty sure.
You did. Yeah. I didn't want to say it, but yeah, you did. Like the
but
one
but
that you
but you
can't really.
but when we but see
But
but it wasn't when we saw it, so you should
yeah,
still know
that
it.
episode
It's
has a lot of
expected.
lines like that. Are you feeling it now, Mr. Krabs? Like it's like
Yes.
no, I ate the pill.
The pill's like enormous. Oh my! Can you go any slower? and your blinker's been off for the last 3 blocks.
You could have just gone around.
And it's like, don't worry, old man. We're almost across the street. Oh, man. That's great.
I think that episode got unbanned recently, but yeah, it was banned for a hot second there.
Yeah. Which, like, looking back at it now, that was such a weird tangent. Like, especially for a children's cartoon, you're kind of like, yo, what in the world? Like, who wrote this? But
yeah. Hey, it was funny. So who cares?
No, I mean that's what I mean. Like you don't question it at the time. It's hilarious,
yeah.
But it's one of those things. But yeah, I mean, that's just one of 1,000 random SpongeBob lines. You can just say virtually anywhere in the country, and everyone knows exactly what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And the one person who doesn't is just like, come on, man, how do you not know?
Yeah. Like, I feel maybe a little weird not having Aang up there, but then you kind of get the argument, is he actually anime? Was the answer was maybe, kind of, possibly.
Like, so,
then,
the reason see, that's the thing, like, if we're just talking about, like, that's the thing, I think you can't put, like, Aang on there just because, like, although there is no denying Avatar is far and away just, like, amazing across the board. I don't think you can put a show that only really has, I mean, I guess 2 versions of itself, and that's kind of it, even if it's amazing. Like, because the rest of these shows are timeless, have hundreds of episodes, if not thousands for some of them, and literally, these are generational shows. And don't get me wrong, Avatar is amazing, but like, Avatar is going to be an us thing.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, Looney Tunes is everybody. Like, you can be 70 years old and people know who Scooby-Doo is. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you're 70 years old, you know who Bugs Bunny is.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you can read, you know who Mickey Mouse is. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know.
It's like if you're making a video game one of these and you don't put Mario. It's like every person knows Mario.
Right. Like, you don't play video games, you still know Mario. Like, you don't watch cartoons, you still know Bugs Bunny. Like, as long as you're not like on like just not a human, you know who these people are. I mean, And again, I'm not saying that like Aang does it. I'm not saying that Avatar isn't a good enough show by quality by any standards, but I don't think it's to the point where this figure is so iconic. There are people 70 years old who know it by name. You know what I mean? And that's just not. I mean, that's no offense to Avatar, but you just can't do that. That's just, you haven't been around nearly long enough. You don't have the pedigree. You have the quality for sure. But you have not existed in, I mean, 3, 4, 5 generations? I don't even know how generations work, but I mean, like you're a household name in every household.
Right. So I feel very strongly about Mickey Mouse, Bugs Bunny, SpongeBob, Scooby-Doo. I think that's a very good list.
Yeah, I think that's the definitive list. I would love to hear some other arguments, maybe some other people in the comments or something, but like, for me, that feels correct.
Yeah, there could be characters we're just completely missing or just forgetting about or whatever, but yeah, I think that feels right to me right now.
Yeah, it feels good. Yeah, we gotta do this for like regular TV shows also, because I feel like that'd be a big one too. Because
or like anime or video games, like I said.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, these are the Mount Rushmore one's hard though because it's 4. And you gotta be like, okay, are we doing the 4? Like, because again, when I think Mount Rushmore, I think 4 iconic. Like, it has to be the most. When you hear the word,
these 4 are most iconic. Yeah.
Right. It's like when you hear this word, when you hear this category, what do you immediately think of? Like, when I think cartoons, I immediately think, Bugs Bunny. I immediately think like Mickey Mouse. I immediately think SpongeBob. Honestly, probably SpongeBob's the first one I think of, just because that was my era. That was our era, obviously. But I mean, so yeah, and it's what it's kind of and I think this one was a lot easier than like the superhero one because we all know the first three, but like the fourth one you have arguments. This one it feels like I mean you have arguments. This one feels more straightforward because like even if they were like pick a fifth, then it'd probably of like a fifth cartoon, then I'd probably be like okay now I don't know because like my immediate thought is like maybe like a Homer Simpson because like that's been on forever. But also, you know, now we're thinking, okay, well, if we're doing another one now, maybe Tom and Jerry because there's enough variety. We also got SpongeBob in there. We also got Scooby-Doo in there. So like, and Tom and everybody knows Tom and Jerry, obviously. But then it's also like, oh, well, what about like, I don't know, what else was I thinking? Cartoon characters.
Woody Woodpecker is kind of popular. Like,
ooh, that's
a classic.
Yeah, like you said, Popeye would be another one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I know not as big here, but I mean, I know worldwide. Isn't Hello Kitty like enormous?
Yes.
Right.
So Asia, like, Hello Kitty. You know, Winnie the Pooh is also its own big.
Oh, see, that's one I didn't think about. But see, that's a big one too. I mean, because I mean, everyone knows Winnie the Pooh, and I guess you could argue like books and stuff help him more. But I mean, that's just part of the game, I guess.
Yeah, like, I mean, Mickey Mouse doesn't even really have like a cartoon presence as much anymore. So that's he just the character is just so iconic that he has to go up there.
And you could also argue that's because like movies too, because like that's kind of unfair when you think about it. Because really, I mean, what was the last cartoon that had Mickey Mouse? Like like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse? I mean, I don't. There's
Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. There was a 2D Disney XD show. I think it's off now, but it'd been going from like 2017 onward. I think.
Yeah, so, but I mean. But that's not when we think Mickey Mouse. I mean, we're not talking about Disney XD. You know what I mean? Yes,
the DuckTales cartoon. That's the same. That is Disney Mickey Mouse characters.
Yeah, that's true. Oh yeah, that is okay. Yeah, that is right because that's all included in that. So like Scrooge McDuck and all that's in there, and then all the Goofy movies and stuff like that. That counts. Those are pretty big. Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about that. Okay, yeah. This is a good one. I like this. Good.
Yeah, I'll make a a list of topics we could try to figure out in the future. But yeah, I like doing these.
I like these too. These are good because like this feels like you gotta think about like there's usually one or two immediate has tos. Like you can't argue with one or two, but then it's like, okay, well now let's actually think about this. Like who's deserving, who might be there, who kind of isn't because of technicalities. Like that's pretty cool.
Right. Yeah. For like the superheroes, like who's the fourth? Like you don't even need to question
like
the fourth.
Like right. It was like okay, so like yeah, because that's why I really like that question too, because it's like if you say anything but the first three, it's like your list is wrong. Like.
I think Mr. Fantastic is more. Shut up. No, he's not. Like he's not. He's cool, but he's not. No, he's not Batman. Come on.
He's not. No, he's not. No, come on. Like when no one thinks superhero, they're like, yeah, Mr. Fantastic. Like, no, you don't. No, Mr. Fantastic doesn't even think.
All right. Okay. Anything else you want to bring up or discuss before we sign off?
Just Spy Family Code White comes out this weekend. I'm going on Saturday. Very excited.
Nice.
Me and my brother.
Very nice.
But yeah, I mean, we're going into anime time because May we have My Hero season 7 and Demon Slayer season 4 both coming in early May, and it's gonna be busy. I'm very excited.
All right. So with that, we will see you all next time.
Take care.